I certainly didn't intend to end up on YouTube. I was probably the most unlikely YouTuber.
You quit social media.
And I really quit. I quit my Twitter, I quit my Facebook, quit my Instagram.
How does it feel?
I was so scared. I really thought that my business was going to just crash and burn. I made content for my art instead of products.
You put it online and it's immediately quantified.
And no one's going to see it, and that's a good thing. I love that fact in the beginning that so few people were seeing my videos.
What does success look like?
I would rather have more time and freedom in my business than like making 6-7 figures.
Louise loves to quit things that aren't working, and that includes social media. And recently she shared her full no-nonsense, calm marketing strategy, which really resonated with me because it emphasizes connection. Rather than pushing out emails to sell something, she does it on a human level that makes both her and the reader feel good. And that's exactly why I wanted to chat with her. In the process, we get into her surprisingly simple way of starting YouTube, even if you have no idea how to make videos, why she might split her channel, and of course, how she's able to grow. Hi, my name is Valentin, and if you take anything away from this conversation, it would be awesome if you could leave a comment down below. But for now, join me on this call. I do like to start at the beginning. So, and I don't know if that's your beginning, but how did you find your way to YouTube as an artist?
I certainly didn't intend to end up on YouTube, that's for sure. I was probably the most unlikely YouTuber, but I had been following lots of other artists on YouTube. There was some particular artist that I followed that I was very inspired by. Her name is Arlisha Yetzer, and she has a YouTube channel about watercolor and drawing and lots of different things. And she had made videos about how she structured her business. And that was kind of an eye-opening video for me because I saw that I can make art and be an artist, but I don't have to be like a traditional artist. I don't have to have my work in galleries. I don't have to do exhibitions. I don't have to necessarily sell my art. I could also start a YouTube channel. So that inspired me. And I don't know, I was curious and it just seemed fun.
So, how would you describe your channel at the moment?
The channel that I have been running has been very art focused. That's how I started it from the beginning. It was called Art by Louise, and it was strictly just art videos. And then gradually over the years, I felt like sharing more of the behind the scenes of my business, like the business strategy, the different platforms I was using, my decision to quit social media, as you know, and I got a very positive response on those videos. And I think a lot of artists kind of end up in that. They try posting more like the art business stuff, and it gets a lot more traction than their usual watch me draw for an hour or watercolor tips for beginners. It just, those videos, they don't get viral and they don't bring in viewers in the same way as business content does. It's just naturally the way it is. So my channel has pivoted more and more to the business side because it's what I did before. I know a lot about that and I'm passionate about talking about those topics, but I decided to split my channel in two. So going forward, I will have my art focused channel, which will be all about art, just art, and then my new channel, which will be the business of being a creative. I'm building a sustainable business as a creative.
Interesting. I definitely want to put a pin in this decision of splitting your channel in two. I think that's something a lot of, in particular, YouTube creators are struggling with or often think about. Should I start a new channel or not? It's a very
there are a lot of
frequent
pros and
question.
cons with it
Yeah.
as well, so it's a hard decision, and
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
But before you just glanced over this, but you said you quit social media.
Yeah.
I think a lot of artists, their go-to platform is Instagram to share what they're making, to maybe bring in sales, bring in clients, bring in fan base, and you just said, "No, I'm done
I
with
just quit.
this." Tell me more about this.
I first quit Instagram, like the first time was back in, I think, 2016. And I credit that entirely to Cal Newport. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a professor and a writer, author. And so his book, Deep Work, had recently come out and it changed my life completely. He had recently had a TED talk that really blew up. It was all about quitting social media.
I see.
So that's what first like opened my eyes to a world without social media, both in my private life and in my business. And at the time, I was a freelancer. I was a freelance web designer, writer, so it wasn't that dependent on social media. It was really just for fun. I wasn't getting like leads or anything from social
Yeah.
media. So it was more of a decision to spend that time more wisely. I didn't like who I was on social media. I didn't like the way I talked and the way I wrote, and it didn't really do anything for my business. So that's the first time I quit. And
Hmm.
I really quit. I quit my Twitter, I quit my Facebook, and I quit my Instagram, and I was off it for many years, and I didn't feel compelled to go back to it until I started a career as an artist a few years ago, like in 2020. I I was suffering from burnout. I was tired of my old life, my old business, and just tired. And so I went on sick leave, and that's when I started painting as like a therapeutic practice. And that whole thing led to me pivoting my whole life and starting an art career. And so I figured maybe it's different for artists on Instagram. Maybe I could enjoy this platform now that I'm putting out artwork that I can show. And so I started posting my art, and I think I sold maybe 2 paintings in the beginning, like in 2020.
Hey, that's better than zero
Yay!
paintings.
That's a great ROI, I know.
Yeah.
But mostly it just really, it took a lot of time. It caused a lot of anxiety, and it changed my relationship to my art in
Mm,
like negatively in a way I didn't like. It became this whole performance thing. And I know a lot of artists and creatives in general can relate to this. It stops being about your ideas and what you want to share and what you want to make. And instead, it just becomes this race to get a viral post or a viral reel, as it is now. It can really just taint your whole creative practice. And it did for me. And so I wasn't on there for very long. I think I was maybe posted my art for maybe a year, half a year or something. Can't remember. Um, and then I just felt like this is not worth it. It's not doing anything for me. And I had started a YouTube channel by then, so I was getting such better results from YouTube. That was where all of my email subscribers came from, and all of the engagement and new people and everything just came from YouTube. So I quit again and haven't touched it since, and I love it.
can you tell me, how does it feel? How does it feel not to be scrolling on the phone every 5 minutes and getting notifications?
It's blissful. I can't even remember what it was like to like be dependent on it and feel like the whole FOMO thing that you feel around leaving social media. I was so scared when I first left it. I really thought that my business was going to just crash and burn, and I was just going to become obsolete because if you're not on Instagram, especially as an artist, you basically don't exist, which I don't I don't think so anymore,
Hmm.
by the way. Um, but yeah, it's awesome. I don't miss it.
You also said like how you felt Instagram or social, let's just call it social media,
Mm,
influence how you make art. And I really resonate with that because for a while I tried to be a street photographer
mm,
and posting it a lot on Instagram. And all of a sudden, I only started shooting horizontal, right? I
yeah,
stopped shooting vertical because it
yeah,
doesn't fit on Instagram.
yeah.
So now I'm curious about the inverse. Since you've stopped social media, how has your art changed? Has your art changed? How has that influenced what you create?
I mean, a lot of people argue that YouTube is a social media. There's a discussion going on one of my recent videos about that. And I mean, it can be argued that everything is social media nowadays, or nothing is social media, because every platform has changed so much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm on YouTube. I share my art on YouTube, and that certainly has affected me too. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
battle that I struggle against all the time, when I share my art and when I plan my videos. Like, is this really what I want to do, or am I picking this subject or this topic just because I think it's going to make a good video? So that's a tough one, and I don't think you can completely get away from that if you are running your business online in some capacity. I think it was a lot easier before the internet, when you're just on your own in your chamber and, just inspiration driven and painting whatever you feel like and not being influenced by anyone else. But nowadays, we can't not be influenced by other creatives and other artists because they are everywhere.
You also made a few videos about your behind the scenes of
Mm,
the art business, your
yeah,
newsletter, why you quit social media, your whole marketing strategy.
yeah.
How did that come about, and why do you feel like those have to be on separate places?
I did a few Q&A videos on my channel,
Yeah.
and so many of the questions that I got was around business, around running a creative business. Like, how do you sell your art? Where do you sell your art? What website platform are you using? What
Mm-hmm.
email software are you using? The majority of the questions was around that. And I had stuff to share about that. So I used to be a digital strategist and kind of I hate the word, but I used to be a growth hacker back in the days.
Ooh.
I worked for like agencies as a digital strategist, as a copywriter. So I have been on that side of things. I understand conversion tactics and growing audiences and digital businesses, content marketing, all of that stuff. So I had a lot of experience about that, and it felt weird to not share it when I could share it with a new audience in the context of art. After a point, I was just feeling more inspired to share that kind of stuff because I saw that people wanted it and I saw that people were really helped by it. And it's been it's been a difficult decision, like, where, because my audience has been very like wide, and that's
Mm-hmm.
always a challenge. You don't want a too wide of an audience because it's going to get really hard to do marketing and to communicate effectively and to sell your various offerings. So I have been selling art courses. That's primarily how I made my living before, because it's the most natural, natural thing to do when you teach art online, is to also
Yeah.
sell art courses.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so that was my primary income before, tied to my YouTube channel. And now I also sell creative consulting, creative business consulting, and coaching services, and like that those kind of offerings. And I'm not really comfortable with having them all in one place because I think there's already too much focus on business and marketing in art. I also feel that I could get more specific and I could dive more deeply into each topic if I have them separate. Because I always felt like if I like nerded out too much on drawing or watercolor, that I would put some people off, because one of my first really viral videos was the leaving Instagram video. And so, I mean, you get really influenced by that. Who is my audience right now, and what are they looking for? Right now, I have 3,000 new subscribers who joined because of a marketing video they saw, and it just gets to the back of your mind. Like, do I want to make another art video? Are they going to be put off by that? And
Yeah.
that's the complicated thing about having a really wide audience, that you don't really know who you're talking to. And as a copywriter, I really want to know exactly who I'm talking to. I think it's a good decision to split my channel. It remains to be seen, because you are also spreading yourself thin across two channels. But I don't really have like a regular upload schedule or anything like that now. Anyways, I've decided to take it more slow with YouTube and focus on quality over quantity. So only making videos that I really want to make and making them as good as I can before putting them out, as opposed to like the weekly YouTube hustle that I've been running for 3 years.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics to get into, and it's like, does quantity lead to quality? How important is
Mm,
consistency?
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I tend to be a quality over quantity person in most things, in when it comes to audience building and relationships and like the type of content that you make, the art that you make. Quality usually trumps quantity because quality is harder to come by in general. But there are definitely instances where quantity leads to quality, like you said. And one example is when you're learning art. That's when I always propose focusing on quantity instead of quality, making many tiny ugly drawings instead of like one huge ugly drawing a week. The more like little iterations of learning something, the quicker you're going to improve. So every time you make a painting and that painting fails, you're going to learn something.
Hmm.
And so the more paintings you can finish, the quicker you're going to learn from your mistakes. So that's why if you want to learn something really fast, do it many times and do it like for shorter periods of time. So that's one of the things that I talk about in art context. It's iterative drawing and iterative painting, like doing the same drawing 3 or 6 or 10 times in a row, like in a small format, because you're going to learn much quicker that way. And the same was true when I started my YouTube channel. I really needed to get in a lot of practice time in the beginning. And so I tried to just focus on getting one video a week out and not worry about the quality of it, because you're gonna suck in the beginning. I mean, there's no way around that. You have to like be at peace with being a beginner in the beginning, because it's the only way you can get past it. So I also felt like focusing on quantity in the beginning of my YouTube journey was really valuable, until I started to feel like I knew what I was doing, and I had like developed a process for making my videos, and I was starting to feel more confident. That's when I sort of pivoted to focusing on quality instead.
A little bit slightly off the record, but I'm just working on a video right now where it's just about consistency. So
Mm,
there's a lot of getting two different perspectives on the same topic helps me understand where consistency really matters and
mm,
where it's just um, wasted energy. And this
yeah,
idea of repeatedly doing something small over and over again, um, something very similar, right?
mm,
I think is a really good way to get better at something quickly.
yeah. And like taking baby steps. Like in the beginning with my YouTube channel, I was really overwhelmed because I was YouTube searching for videos on how to be better at YouTube, and you're really overwhelmed. I mean, there's so much advice out there. There's so many aspects to think about and so many things that you should be doing. And if
Yeah.
you've never like recorded yourself on camera, you've never recorded voiceovers, you've never edited a video. Like I had no idea how video editing worked. I didn't know what it looked like or anything. So in the beginning, what really helped me was, okay, what would be like the minimum viable YouTube video, like the very first video I was gonna put out? What is like the least amount of pressure that I could put on myself?
Hmm.
And so the very first video that I made was just a speed paint. It was just me painting like a bird in watercolor, sped up, with a bit of music on top. There was no voiceover, there was no script, there was no editing. I didn't have to edit it. I just uploaded the whole thing, and it was like 3 minutes long or something.
Hmm.
That was my first video, and then I created kind of like a difficulty ladder for myself, because I've played a lot of video games.
I see.
And so I like to think of other areas of my life from a gaming perspective. It just really helps to like gamify things. And so I made a difficulty ladder for myself. Like, if this is level 1, what does level 2 look like? And I think level 2 was a video just sharing my art progress, sharing my old drawings and the progression of my art over the years. Still no voiceover, but I made like text subtitles. That was level 2. And then I think level 3 was my third video. I added a voiceover, and it was really crappy and really bad sound quality, but it was a voiceover, I was speaking.
Yeah.
And then it took me like 5 or 6 videos before I actually stepped in front of the camera and talked in front of the camera. And that's one of the most awkward videos I've ever made. But you just have to get it out of the way. And it helped to not start with trying to make a talking head video and try to seem confident and like you know what you're doing.
I really like this concept of a difficulty ladder to create for yourself. There's so many people that could benefit from having a YouTube channel or an online presence in general, and they just feel overwhelmed by everything, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that you have to be good at in order to stand out. But like taking this pressure away from you, it's just like, no, this first one is just to prove a point that I can hit this button that says publish,
Yeah.
right?
And no one's going to
And
see
then,
it. And that's a good thing. I love that
yeah,
fact in the beginning that so few people were seeing my videos, because that gave me a chance to like improve in solitude and not feel like I had a bunch of eyes on me. A lot of people get it really impatient and they want to grow fast, but I really love growing slowly in the beginning as I figure things out. I think it's like a natural progression. As my skills and my confidence grows, then my audience can grow with that as well.
you were talking about like pre-internet and now we have social media to its full extent. Like before, you had a band and you practice in a basement and nobody hears it and you're just having a great time.
Yeah,
Maybe you play in your local bar and people come and it's fun.
yeah,
But now, whatever your art is, you put it online and it's immediately quantified. How many
yeah,
likes does it have? How many people have seen this? How many comments have you gotten? And I love the internet for all the opportunities it gives us, but it completely eliminated this aspect of practice.
yeah.
And I'm
You're
not
so
quite
right
sure
about
how to
that.
deal with that yet.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Yeah. Now all of us just at an instant we have access to the entire world, and you can have your first video accidentally go viral, and
Yes.
that thing screws people up. I mean, I don't want that to happen to me. Like, it really has a dark side to it. Exposure online and growing really quickly and blowing up, on YouTube or elsewhere. It really has a dark side to it and can be really hard to handle. Like, the first video that I had, like, that I think over 100,000 people, 100,000 people saw. That's when you start getting, a bit of trolling and some haters and complete strangers that don't necessarily like what you're doing, or just they are annoyed by whatever little detail about you and they feel the need to write that in a comment. That's not fun. Like, that takes adjusting.
Hmm.
You need to adjust to that, and I would much prefer to adjust to it slowly over time than like with a viral video overnight and suddenly just this huge influx of complete strangers. Because I loved my YouTube channel in the beginning, where it was just lovely people commenting on my videos. It was just so much love, and it felt like our little club.
Hmm.
And you can't have that forever. There will come a point in your growth when it's not going to feel that way anymore. And I've seen a lot of really huge YouTubers talk about that, and I find that really fascinating. But a lot of them talk about really missing the way that their community felt in the beginning. And I think we don't appreciate that as beginners when we're just starting out. We just want to get growth, more growth. We just want to get bigger, 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 instead of appreciating how lovely it is to be a beginner at something where there's no pressure and you can make crappy stuff and no one's gonna care.
At the beginning, the audience talks at you, they call you by your
Mm,
name, and then at some
yeah.
point they start talking about you
Yes.
and referring to you in like third person. And
Yeah.
so I think that's where the switch happens. But as a former growth hacker, digital marketer, are there any numbers that you do track? Is it in any way, shape, or form important to you, or do you ignore it as best as you can?
I wish I could ignore my stats, but no. I if there is a dashboard with stats, I will definitely look at it. And so the challenge is how much do I want to get influenced by it,
Hmm.
especially with YouTube. I'm not obsessive about, A/B testing my subject lines for my emails or anything like that because it's my audience. I've already earned that audience. They know me. They already have like a baseline interest in what I have to say. And so I don't really try to optimize every little thing about my business.
Out of all the things that YouTube show you, are there any numbers that actually matter to you, or you're just looking at them because they're there?
If
Interesting.
I would just choose one thing, it would be the comments on my videos and maybe the retention. But it's a danger looking at the retention as well because when a video gets through to a wider audience, there's always going to be worse retention on those videos because a lot of them, they don't really know what you're about and they're going to click out really quickly, and that's going to affect your whole retention graph. So the people that stick around and watch your entire videos, those are your core audience. Those are the people you want to try to please, not those that click out within the first 30 seconds. And that took me a long time to wrap my head around because you do want to please everyone. I do. I am a huge people pleaser, and I want everyone to watch my entire video through to the end. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
But it's just not a reality. That's not how it works. And I have to remember what these stats mean and what they don't show. And I've learned that, there's this scoreboard on your YouTube studio with like how well your recent videos have performed, like from 1 to 10, your 10 most recent videos and how they rank against each other. And you're always in competition with that, the scoreboard. It's really hard to not be. You want your recent video to hit number one. But what I have learned over the years is that many of my videos that I launched to just crickets, no one really cared, no one was that interested. Years down the line, for some reason, some of those videos have just taken off massively. And now some of those videos are like the best performing videos on my channel. And I could have never expected that.
Hmm.
And so I try to have that in mind whenever I plan my videos, and I think like I would really like to make a video about this topic. It's probably not going to go well on the YouTube homepage. It's probably not going to go viral. It's not going to get number one on this scoreboard, but I'm going to enjoy making this video, and I'm making it for my people, like my core audience. That's the thing that I love about YouTube, is that it's not about this hamster wheel of trying to beat the algorithm and trying to, stay relevant and just go viral. It's what I love about it is that it feels like I'm building a body of work that I'm proud of, and that's going to keep delivering results. It's going to keep getting discovered for years. And that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, that is a very unique fact about YouTube, that a video from 7 years can be just as relevant as something that's been published 7 minutes ago,
Yeah.
and it's there for people to discover. It's funny how you talked about retention, because I'm a huge completionist. If I
Mm.
start something, I have to finish it. So for the first couple of years using, I don't think I ever like not watched a video to the end. So it was like really hard for me to
Hmm.
understand, like, why would people not watch it? Like, but then another big piece of your online presence is your newsletter. What role does it actually play in, yeah, your business? I guess I'm going to call it at this point.
It's my whole business. It's the core of my business.
Okay.
Yeah, it always has been for all of my businesses that I've run in the
Hmm.
past. I could not have done it without an email list. And almost all of the sales that I make are because of some email that I've written. So that's why I talk about it a lot in my videos and in my writings, the importance of building an email list, because it's the best way we have today of reaching people in a reliable way. And that's still, I mean, some emails end up in spam, some emails are not being read, but at least they land in someone's inbox most of the time. And that cannot be said for Instagram or TikTok or YouTube.
Hmm.
We don't have guaranteed reach, but with email, it's the closest thing we have to guaranteed reach for the people that have explicitly opted in to hearing from us.
In the grand scheme of things, what does success look like to you?
Success to me looks like freedom, being free to do what I want and when I want it from where I want to do it. That's always been the case. I've not been like a traditional entrepreneur in the sense that I've never been that interested in money. I've always been more interested in freedom and getting to spend my days however I want. And yeah, that's what it looks like for me. Getting up when I want, pursuing the projects that I want to pursue, working from anywhere, and just being in control of my time. And yeah, that's what it looks like for me. And I mean, making enough money to get by, obviously. But other than that, I would rather have more time and freedom in my business than like making 6, 7 figures or whatever people pursue these days.
That vision of success really resonates with me. The happiest I am is when I have an empty calendar.
Yeah.
So normally I ask at the end like advice for people to get started, but I'm tempted to ask you, what advice do you have for people who want to quit social media?
I mean, some people have built their entire audience and their entire business on a platform like Instagram, and they are making sales from that platform, even though they are unhappy with, where the platform has gone the recent years. But they are still like reliant on that platform. So it would be kind of ignorant of me to say, well, just quit it cold turkey and never look back. So it's tricky. I mean, it's a lot easier if you've been on the platform and you clearly notice that I'm not getting anything out of this. I just feel miserable. I'm not making sales. And again, the more you can track your stats, the better. If you can see, like I can go into my website analytics and I can see how many visitors I've had from Instagram. And it's been like 3 people or something
Hmm.
among thousands. That makes it really easy for me to make a decision to ditch Instagram. And it's the same with my newsletter. I mean, my newsletter growth has been powered so much by YouTube. That's like a clear, I can see the stats, how much of my subscribers have been coming from YouTube, including paid subscribers when I had a paid newsletter on Substack. And that just makes it really an easy decision where to focus my time. But I think even if we are getting something out of being on social media, I think it's worth weighing that against how we feel when on social media, like the downsides. We have to weigh the upsides to the downsides. And for me, it doesn't really matter if Instagram would have been really helpful for my business in some way, if it would have increased my sales by like a small percentage or something. It wouldn't have been worth the trade-off for me to have to be on that platform and do the work and create content in that way. it's not worth it. So I guess it comes down to really, you know, listing the pros and cons, looking at your stats if you can, and making a decision from that. And you can always approach it as an experiment. Like, it doesn't have to be permanent. You can just, okay, I'm going to try to do marketing differently for 1 month, 3 months, or whatever.
Hmm.
And I'm going to go completely off Instagram, and I'm going to track it. I'm going to see how it affects my business and my well-being. And then you can make a decision from that.
And to not ignore the other side, if you think about this person who has a passion for art, wants to share it with people, but haven't made that first step to actually put something online, what would you tell them?
Well, first of all, you don't have to put anything online. You really don't have to. I think that's worth putting out there, like as a disclaimer. We have no obligation to share our work online as artists or writers or musicians or any type of creative. There are other ways to make a living, but I think it's important to remember, who are you trying to show your art to and why? Like, what do you want to get out of it? Do you want to share it with fellow artists to get feedback? Or do you want to share it to actually get sales? And if you want to share it to get sales, I think you really need to think about your target audience and where they're the most likely to come across new art that they might be interested in. And that might or might not be Instagram or YouTube.
If people are really curious now to find more out about you, where can people follow you? What's the best way to stay in your orbit?
Not Instagram. Well, the best place to like really stay in touch and see what I'm up to is my newsletter. I write it every Friday, and that's like the core communication method that I use. And otherwise, it's YouTube. It's my YouTube channel or my YouTube channels.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This was awesome. There was so
Thank
many
you.
good insights here.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this conversation, you might also like the Orbit newsletter, a weekly transmission full of curated content for creators. You can sign up for it via the link below, but now it's time to create.